What's going on? How's everybody doing? I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what it's like to enter the maximum security prison system. You know, excuse me. So, a lot of people wonder what it's like to just go into prison and what it's going to be like when you get in there, what you should do, what you shouldn't do, how it works. A lot of people say, just mind your own business. Of course, you should mind your own business, but that doesn't explain how prison works. So I went from Rikers Island, which is a jail, and my first prison was Sing Sing. Now, what you need to know is that prisons are all different and they run different, especially from state to state. New York prisons are different than Florida prisons. Florida prisons are different than California prisons. And so, the states operate a little differently inside of the prison system. Some things are the same and some things are different. So I could speak for New York, even though I know a lot about other prisons in other states, uh, just from my friends that have been there and doing research. But I could tell you firsthand what New York prison is like because I've been to 11 of them on my sentence. I was transferred from prison to prison. And New York State really doesn't hold you in one prison too long, unless you're doing a life sentence. They may hold you in a prison for many, many years, even decades. But they tend to move you around for various reasons. They move you around for classification reasons, security reasons. They move you around for because they just need bodies to fill other prisons, disciplinary reasons. There's all type of reasons. So I was in about 11 prisons in the 17 years, maybe a little less than that. I don't think it was 11. Might have been a little less than that. I was in Sing Sing Correctional Facility, Attica Correctional Facility, Mid Orange Correctional, Wallkill Correctional, um, Mid State Correctional Facility, and I went to Queensboro. So maybe about seven. It wasn't 11. I was in about seven or eight. Anyway, my first one was Sing Sing Correctional Facility, and so when I walk into the facility, the first thing you do when you go into a prison is they take you to the medical unit. Everyone goes to the medical unit as soon as they get into the prison. And this is where they are going to ask you what medications you're on. Are you suicidal? Yeah, they'll take a medical history from you. They're just a basic, they'll do a physical on you. Everyone goes through the medical department when they get to the prison. And then usually when you're in a maximum security prison, they keep you locked up for the first 72 hours, 48 to 72 hours that you're there for a clearance. You have to get a security clearance. A sergeant will call you to his office. He's going to ask you if you have any enemies in the facility. Is there any reason that you can't be in the facility? They'll go over your educational status, your needs, things like that. And then you get cleared and you go into the general population. And so, what to expect when you go in? That's what really a lot of people want to know is what to expect. So, when I went into the prison system, I say that I didn't know anyone. I had never been in prison before, but I sat on Rikers Island for 3 years. And the 3 years that I was in the Rikers Island jail fighting my case, I met a lot of guys on Rikers Island that had moved up to prison before me. So when I got there, I knew a few guys. And one of those guys was Jimmy, my buddy Jimmy. Jimmy had served over 30 years in prison, so he knew the prison system good. And I ran into Jimmy as soon as I got there. Yeah, not as soon as I got there, but after 4 or 5 days. And Jimmy brings me over to the guys to introduce me to all the fellas. And one thing that prison is different is that it's segregated. And when I say segregated, it's segregated to the extreme. So you'll have the white guys hang out in one section. In Sing Sing, as an example, there was a hill in the yard. You had the whole correctional yard, and there was a little hill. And the hill was shared by the white guys and the Jamaicans. We both had a piece of the hill. So that's where we hung out. And then you had the El Salvadorians here, the Guatemalans over there. You had the gang, the Bloods over here, the Latin Kings over there, and then you had Dominicans over here. Everyone was segregated. Everybody was segregated into their own groups. Sing Sing was a little looser than other maximum security prisons. It was a little more intermingling in Sing Sing, as in comparison to Attica, where it's extremely segregated. Uh, I wasn't that comfortable with that because I didn't grow up like that. My house was like the United Nations growing up. I grew up with my friends were black, Spanish, Chinese, Pakistani, and everything. I always looked at everyone as an individual. But in prison, you tend to you go with your own group. That's the way it is. And I got pulled over to the guys, to the white guys up on the hill in Sing Sing. And the first cell that I got put in was a cell called Q61. It was on the flats. That means it's the bottom gallery of cells. It was 4 or 5 galleries high, and each gallery had about 65 cells, 67 cells on it. I was in Q61 on the flats, and that's where I ended up. And so when you go in there, you'll within the first 3 days, you'll see the program committee too. They'll call you to the program committee, and the program committee is going to determine what job you have. They're going to determine if you have a high school diploma, or if not, they'll put you in school for half a day and then give you another program another half a day. Program may be the mess hall where you work in the kitchen. You may need to fulfill a vocational need if you can't prove to them that you are educated in a vocational field. They may give you a vocation to take, something like small engine repair, masonry, printing. But these programs are really bogus anyway. To be honest, they don't teach you much at all. The state just likes to get the funding for these programs, but that's a whole nother story. They're going to tell you if you need to take a drug program, if you need to take an anti-violence program. The first few months in the prison, there's a lot of obligations that you need to fulfill when you go in there. As far as the other prisoners, unlike the movies, when you go into prison, there's not a whole bunch of guys on the fence screaming "new fish, new fish." It doesn't work like that. When guys come into prison, nobody really says anything to you at first. You walk in there, and they'll give you your stuff. They'll give you your clothes, your state issued clothes, which is like 3 pairs of pants, 3 state issued shirts. 6 pairs of underwear, 6 pairs of socks. They give you state issued clothes, blanket, sheets, pillowcase, and they'll take you to your cell that you lock in New York State. When you go to a maximum security prison, I don't know if they still do it, but we had to be double bunked, which was two men to a cell. And you stay like that for the first 2 3 months, until you earn your own cell, until you get some seniority, and they move you into your own cell. And so that sucks, being in the cell with another guy. Because it's really tight quarters. I got some crazy stories about bunkies. Of course, I had to beat a few bunkies up. When you go into prison, nobody's going to come up to you and just beat you up for no reason. It doesn't work like that. Um, so I'll give you an example of when I moved in. I moved into the to my company, and my neighbor in the cell next to me was a black guy named Blue, and they called him Blue because he was so black he was blue. And he worked in the mess hall, and he had some time in. He had about 15, 20 years in prison when I was starting day one there. And he was in the cell next to me. So I hadn't even run into my friend Jimmy yet. I didn't even know he was there yet. And so I didn't really know a soul. And I move into my cell. I don't have much. And Blue gives a little knock on the wall. Boom, boom. Yo, what's up? And he says to me, would you just come in? I said, yeah, I just came in from Rikers. All right, and we start talking a little bit. And so they say, how do you know how to trust someone? Should I trust this guy? that's knocking on my wall and trying to talk to me. Right away, Blue says, "Yo, you hungry? You want something to eat?" I was starving because I was just transferred in and moved around, and I didn't have any commissary or personal food yet. But I said, "Nah, I'm all right. I'm good, man. Thank you. Good looking out." Because I don't know Blue's story. I don't know if Blue is a rapist or a child molester or a rat. I don't know anything about him. So if I start breaking bread with him and sharing a meal with him, other guys in the prison are going to see this and they're going to be like, yo, Fish eats with the child molester or Fish eats with the rapist. That was my nickname in there, Fish. And so I didn't want to build a relationship with him until I got to know who he was. But what I saw was that a lot of people liked Blue and a lot of people respected Blue because they were coming by the cell, yo, what's up, talking to him, bullshitting with him. And you have to have some street smarts. You know what I mean? If you have any type of street smarts at all, you just sit back and listen and sit back and watch when you go in there. And don't be eager to just make friends with people because you never know who you're making friends with. And so me and Blue ended up. Blue was a good dude. Me and Blue ended up hitting it off, and Blue taught me a lot about what was going on. He told me, and you'll have guys like that, guys that'll help you. They tell you, yo, this is what's going to happen. They're going to call you to the program committee tomorrow, and then you'll get your commissary after 3 weeks. And you got to get money sent to your account, and this is what you're allowed to have. Guys will start filling you in on things. And so, like I said, me and Blue hit it off, and then I went to my first recreational period outside in the yard. I ran into Jimmy. Jimmy introduced me to the guys, and you start to go with the flow, you know. So I had about before I got into my first fight in prison, and it was probably about 3 weeks. I was probably there about 3 weeks, and I had called my family and asked them to mail me some stuff I need. You could have a personal blanket, you could have personal sweatpants, personal sneakers, you could have a fan for your cell, a little clip-on fan. You can't just get anything. There's catalogs that you can order from, prison approved catalogs that you can order from. And so I order all this stuff, and I'm going to pick up my first package in prison. And what they do is when a package arrives for you, your name will appear on the package list. In the morning, they hang up a package list, and you go and check the package list every day if you're expecting something. So I went and saw my name was on the package list. I know they do the package run at 10:30 in the morning. And so instead of going to program, I tell the officer, the officer does a go around. When you're locked in your cell in the morning, he comes around with a clipboard and asks you where you're going today. You could tell him, I'm going to the yard, to the chow and yard. Means you're going to eat and then you're going outside. Or the officer comes around. If you have a program, you tell him chow and program. You know what I mean? And the officer walks by the cell fast. When he does the count, when he does the go around, you got to be on your gate waiting for him to do the go around. Otherwise, if you miss the go around, you'll be stuck in your cell all day. And so the officer does the go around in the morning, and I tell him chow and package. Means I'm going to go to eat breakfast, and then I'm going to go to the package run when they call it. So just giving you a little idea of how the flow works. And so they call the package run at 10:30. And in Sing Sing, the package room is in a separate building from the cell block where you live. So you have to go outside and then walk to another building about a half a mile and pick up your package and then walk back with it. And they do this with a police escort. The police will escort about 10 or 15 guys at a time to the package room. Everyone walks outside. You don't have to walk in line. Guys are walking, smoking a cigarette, going to the package room. We all get to the package room, and I get my stuff. And I have like 4 or 5 brown bags of stuff because it's my first package and I had a lot of stuff mailed in. And so nobody really knows who I am yet. I don't really know anybody yet. I've only been there a couple of weeks. And I'm walking back from the package room, and this brother is scoping my shit. I see him looking at everything that I'm carrying. He's making it obvious that he's staring at all the stuff I got. And I started to get a complex, you know what I mean? Because he was staring too hard. Like, I'm like, what is this guy looking at? You know what I mean? And I'm sure he's looking at me like a little white boy from Long Island, but the truth is he has no idea, so he's grilling me and grilling me. And finally it gets to the point where I feel like I gotta say something. So I turn around, I just tell him, yo, what's up? What are you looking at? He says, well, yo, who the fuck you talking to? I said, I'm talking to you, motherfucker. What you looking at? So at this point, the officer who's escorting us hears us beefing back and forth with one another. He gets, yo, you guys calm down. The officer says, take it easy. Both of you take it easy. So we quiet up, you know what I mean? But now there's some tension. You know what I mean? Now there's a little beef. You know what I mean? I don't know how serious this brother is taking it, but I'm taking it very serious. I don't like anybody looking at my shit or making me feel like he's going to try and make a move to take my shit. I'm not going for that. And so what happens is the officer brings us back to the prison. And when he brings us back to the cell block where we lock, he brings you back to the flats, which is Q Gallery, which is where my cell is, Q61. We're on the flats. And the officer leaves us there. And we're all stuck in that area for about 20 minutes because you can't just roam around the prison when you get back. You have to wait until they call movement. They call movement like every hour. And then the prisoners have 10 minutes to go where they want to go. So we're going to be stuck on the flats for about 10 or 15 minutes. The officer drops us off and he bounces. And when that happens, I see that brother that was staring at my package walk all the way down to the end of the gallery, and he's talking with like 3 or 4 of his boys. And I know he's saying something about me because they all turn around and they look down the company at me. So I'm like, here we go. I'm alone. No, I'm alone. So, but I got to worry now because I see him talking with 3 or 4 of his boys, and I don't know how this is going to go down. So what I do is, because I'm on my company, I met a few guys down there. And one of the guys I met was Carl the plumber. Carl does the plumbing in the facility. He's a prisoner, but he does the plumbing for the facility. And he has all the tools inside of his cell. He's not supposed to have the tools in his cell. Anytime he has to go fix a toilet or fix a sink, he's supposed to go to the OIC, which is the officer in charge, sign out the tools, give him the toolbox. But Sing Sing is so lackadaisical, they let him bring the tools right in his cell. So I go to Carl's cell. Carl got 25 years in prison already. And we've been hanging out for 3 weeks. He's a white guy. He hangs out with all of us. And I tell him, yo, Carl, listen, I got a beef with this brother down here. Give me a screwdriver. Carl don't ask no questions. He hands me about a 10-inch Stanley screwdriver. He says, if you get caught with it, you stole it from me. I says, no problem. Boom. I take the screwdriver. I put it in my pants. I says, I'm not going to stress over this anymore. I'm just going to go make it happen right now. So I walk down the company where his brother is talking with his boys. I tell him, yo, let's go. I approach him. I stay about 15 feet away. I tell him, what's up? Let's go. So he's looking at me. What? I said, stop running your fucking mouth. You think you're a tough guy. I said, let's do it. Let's go right there. So one cell is empty on the end because there's a bathroom. They had turned it into a bathroom. It was just like a condemned cell that was left open for guys to use the toilet when they were stuck in that area. Right. So I says, come on, come in here. Let's do it right now. So I could tell right now he was running his mouth the whole time, but he was hesitant to come in now. Now that he was getting challenged one-on-one, he's looking at his boys. I said, listen, don't look at your boys. I said, you wanted to run your mouth? You wanted to scope my shit? Look at my packages? Come on, you think you're going to take something from me? I said, let's go. So he moves to walk in the bathroom, and I just jump on him right there. Bang, 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 bang. Scoop him up, pick him, slam him on his head. I'm kicking him in the face, banging his head off the ground. I completely destroy him. In 20, 25, 30 seconds, I give this guy the sickest beating. And his boys just looking at me like, holy shit, this fucking kid is nuts, and then I pulled the screwdriver out and I stuck it to his throat. I said, you ever fuck with me again, you're dead. You understand that? You understand it? That's it. Boom. I run down the fucking company. I hit Carl with the screwdriver back. I give it to him, and that's a wrap, right? He caught his beating. Now I do have to worry Is it going to go further than this? This is the thing in prison. Is this guy going to come try and stab me now? Is he going to go try and get a group of boys together? What does he want to do? It was a one-on-one fight, and he caught a beating. That's what happened. You know what I mean? And so, what to his credit, he didn't rat me out because he had to go to the infirmary. The officers investigate. They're asking him who he was in a fight with. He won't tell who he was in a fight with. And so that was good. At least the guy held it down. The brother wasn't a snitch. You know what I mean? And so I didn't get in any trouble. But right from the jump right there, the guys in prison learned that I would fight. And they learned that I was a good fighter, which is important because it was my first few weeks in prison, and the word travels fast. Everybody hears about it. In prison, it's like a small town. Everybody hears about everything right away. And so after that, I just started going with the flow of the institution. You know what I mean? You have to, unlike the movies as well, I'll give you something else. You have to find something to do too. Like I found handball. I started playing handball every day whenever I would go out into the yard. I was smoking weed when I first went in there. You want to stay away from the drugs. The things that bring problem in prisons are drugs. When you get involved in the drug game, when you get involved in gambling, or guys get involved with the faggots, what they call chumps. Those three things bring guys nothing but problems. So you stay away from the faggots, you stay away from the gambling, you stay away from the drugs, and you mind your own business, do your time like a man. It's going to be fine. Unlike Hollywood, and I tell people this, I get this question all the time. In Hollywood, you would think that people get raped in prison on a continuous basis. So I could say this in all honesty. In the 17 years that I was in prison, uh, I've only heard about someone being raped once or twice in 17 years. You know what I mean? And it happens more in society than it does in prison. You know what I mean? There are homosexuals in prison, and there's guys that fool around with the homosexuals. They don't have to rape them. You know what I mean? But if you fool around with a fag in prison, the rest of the population is really not going to deal with you too much. They're not going to mess with you too much because you're messing with the chumps, and that really don't fly too much in prison. Everyone will know you're a chump. You know what I mean? And so, but you don't see in prison, nobody's gonna, if you drop the soap in the shower, no one's coming up behind you to bang you in your ass. That shit, it ain't like that, dude. It is not like that. Maybe in some other prisons in some other states or other countries. I was in 7, 8 prisons here in New York and never really even heard of it happening. So that's a big Hollywood thing. If you do come into prison with a bad case, what I mean by a bad case is if you come in with a rape charge, if you come in with a child molestation charge, if you come in with a charge for beating up old women or something like that, you can't hide the charge, first of all. Everyone will find out about it. There's no way to hide it, especially with Google and the internet. But the officers see their charges. And if the officers see on your paperwork when you come in that you're a child molester or a rapist, the officer is going to let all the other prisoners know. And now you got a major problem. You're not going to survive. Well, you're not going to survive in the population. You're either going to get beat up really bad every day, you're going to get extorted and live with nothing and have a miserable lifestyle, or you're going to sign into protective custody because you can't live in the population. You know what I mean? But with a rape charge or a child molestation charge or a sex charge, you won't be living in the general population. If you have a high profile case against a child or something like that, there's a good chance you're getting stabbed up. So I was a crazy kid when I went in there. 24 years old, 24 when I went to Rikers, 27 when I went to prison, and I would, without exaggerating, probably beat up, attacked viciously, I don't know, 4 or 5 dozen rapists. I would hear a guy was a rapist or a child molester, and I'd put him in the hospital. It was one of my favorite things to do. Sometimes the officers would announce it. A guy would move into 14 cell. The officer would scream out loud, "I got a rapist in 14 cell, child molester, 14 cell." I'd go down there and fuck that dude up, beat him bloody. You had to teach those guys a lesson. The officers say, do anything you want to him, just don't kill him. Too much paperwork. These days I hear they're protected a little more, but back in my day, man, they let us do anything we wanted to 'em. So in prison, everyone will find out where you are, and they'll find out what you did. But if you go in there and you mind your business, you do your thing, you start programming, you get with your program, and you can't be hanging out with guys that are involved with crazy shit. You can't be hanging out with guys that owe people money. You can't be hanging out with guys that are taking drugs and owing people money. Because then if you're standing next to this guy, you're going to be part of the problem as well. Someone's going to see you as part of the problem as well. So you have to really hang out with guys that are decent dudes and they're doing their time, and nobody's going to go out of their way to mess with you, man. You could do your time. You will get tested. You can get tested, like I was tested by that guy that was staring at my package. You know what I mean? It can happen. Prison is that type of place. You know what I mean? I was in quite a few fights in Rikers Island. I mean, in Sing Sing, I was in quite a few fights there. I saw a couple of men get killed there, a couple of men get stabbed to death there. So it's a wild place, but you can do your time if you do it the right way. And that's a little bit about how to do time and what to expect when you go in there. That's it.